Alright, in this segment I want to explain 2.4 gigahertz helical antennas. Now this is a type of antenna that you probably won't use too often, mainly because it's kind of awkward to construct, but it does have some advantages. Now, some of you might have seen my 2.4 gigahertz video scanner rifle. This antenna here is in fact a helical antenna. It consists of a coil of wire around a fixed diameter of non-conductive material, typically PVC pipe, with a back reflector, and on the ass end has an end connector. Now, Jason Heckler in Australia has a very good tutorial on how to put together one of these, and even has all of the technical explanation of all the math, all of that jazz. We'll get to that in a minute. However, some of the materials are either kind of hard to get or they're just really hard to work with. So in this segment we're going to need a couple of varied materials. Primarily we're going to need some PVC pipe, and I've already started working on the helical because it's kind of boring watching someone wrap wire around a piece of pipe. Now typically the diameter needs to be either 1.5 inch or 2 inch. Typically 40 millimeter would be ideal, which is close to 1.5 inch, and that's what I have here. Now the thing about helical antennas is, because of the wire spiraling around this, it has what we call circular polarization. Typically in most antennas, whether directional or not, they're either horizontally polarized or they're vertically polarized, meaning the radio waves will either fan out around the horizon or they'll go and fan out vertically. So the thing about circular polarized is it actually spirals outward. Now this is pretty cool because this type of antenna is really good in a cityscape like New York City where I live. Reason being is every single time a radio wave will reflect off of a metal surface, its polarization will shift 90 degrees. Every 90-degree shift you can lose up to 3 decibels of gain. So let's say if you have a dipole antenna that's vertically polarized and your radio wave is bouncing off of some kind of metal surface like the scaffolding of a building, the internal structure, the siding of a house, some gate that's to a front store or something, you don't know what. Maybe it's a metal mirror. I have a lot of metal mirrors in my kitchen and in the bedroom, the bathroom, everywhere. So radio signals are constantly bouncing all over the place, shifting its polarization. So every time it shifts, so it comes out as a vertical, it reflects off of a piece of metal, and then it goes horizontal, and you're losing 3 decibels of gain. Cool thing about a helical is it's either left-hand polarized or right-hand polarized, meaning either the spirals go left or the spirals go right. So if you're using this with a receiving unit in an area that has a lot of reflection, this would be an ideal antenna to use because it really doesn't care about the polarization. Pretty cool. But if you're using 2 of these antennas together, one on one side of your access point and the other on the other side of your access point, might be a good idea to make sure that you actually have your polarization in either left-hand turn or right-hand turn. Okay, so enough about the antenna. Some of the materials that we're going to need. We're going to need a reflector, and that reflector has to be one wavelength, roughly 5 inches. Now, you can go and get these old cookie tins. It's literally just an old cookie tin. And this is a good source of metal. It's also pretty easy to solder onto this stuff, but it really doesn't have a lot of structure to it, so you can use it, but I wouldn't recommend it. But it's always good to have this stuff around. If you're going to use this, which we will need a small strip of it later on, you'll see why, it's a good idea to take some steel wool and try to scour any points that are going to be soldered, because this metal will actually rust, or they'll actually paint it. So by sanding away with some steel wool, or if you have an abrasive Dremel accessory, or even a drill with an abrasive bit, get all the paint and all the varnish off of it so you can solder onto it pretty neatly. Of course, we're going to need said length of PVC pipe, typically 40 millimeter or 1.5 inch, which would be ideal. You can go up to 2 inches, but try to stick with 1.5. It's easy enough to get. You can get them in 10-foot lengths, but we'll actually get into the calculation of the antenna later. So I think this is 22 inches. I forget. I do believe this is 18 windings, but we'll get into that later. Okay, so you've got a length of pipe. Of course, you're going to need some wire. Pretty much any solid strand wire would do. Really doesn't matter. In fact, some people will ideally use tape, metal tape, either aluminum foil tape, no thicker than 3 millimeters. You can't exactly use this, but if you have a psychotic girlfriend like I do, you can actually just lay a strip out and tell her, bitch, I want a 10-foot length, 3 millimeters wide, get to cutting. And hopefully she'll do it for you. Mine did. You can use 22 gauge wire, 20 gauge wire, solid strand, single strand, really doesn't matter, wire. If you do have metal tape, that would be ideal, although I find it a little bit more difficult trying to wind the tape around and trying to get a nice flat even edge. If you're going to use wire, I would highly recommend using solid strand, mainly because it'll retain its shape. You want to try to get all the coils on here nice and tight and uniform. You really don't want to have too much of a distance, either plus or minus off of the actual actual scaler, so that would be pretty important. Now for this back reflector, let's say you got an old PC cover and you cut that up, great. That's a pain in the ass. I'd rather not do it. So what I actually opted out to do is I just got a piece of really thick plexiglass. Right here, it's plexiglass. Yay for plexiglass. And later on, I'm going to align all of the plexiglass on this with aluminum tape, just like we've done with other antennas using aluminum tape as reflectors, like with the CD spindle biquad. So this entire thing is going to be metal. Connector of choice would be an end panel mount. You can get creative. Hopefully you'll have enough experience by watching the show to pick out a connector that you want to use for your project, but I would suggest an end panel mount, at least a 2-hole variant. You're going to need at least one end cap for your PVC pipe, because this is going to have to plug in like so, and this is going to build the body of the helical antenna. So this is the actual driven element, which is going to be fed into the center conductor, the signal line of the end connector, and the body of the end connector will get in contact with the aluminum foil backplate, or steel, or whatever you want. And I've also included a couple of these U-shaped brackets, which are right off of Jason Heckler's instructions. So those are also pretty cool, because then you can actually go ahead and make yourself 3/4 inch PVC pipe handle. So if you need to mount this outside, you can. If you need to just carry it around in your hand, you can. Okay, so let's go and review Jason's plans and details. We'll go over those a little bit, and we'll see if we can start designing our first helical antenna. Alright, I'll put a title up on the URL. This is Jason Heckler's website. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And he has a very good tutorial, very good instructions of how to build a 2.4 gigahertz helical antenna. So he tells you all the materials that you're going to need for his instructions. In the construction, he actually has a PDF file that you can actually print out and wrap it around your 40 millimeter or 1.5 inch PVC pipe, and you can actually trace that. Now what I've done in the past is to use a very sharp razor blade and score the pipe, cutting into the actual printed mark around the actual spiral. So if you notice in this picture, what I would do is I would actually go and take a very sharp utility knife and score around all of the spiral. So after that, he's going to explain that you're going to need to take an end cap, which I've done, and you have to chop off the side of it slightly. Reason being is you need to make room for your end connector. And here's a picture right here of exactly what he's done. I've done the same thing. And this larger end cap is primarily used to hold your reflector. But in my design, we're going to replace this with some plexiglass or some sheet metal. And if you are going to be using some kind of plastic or plexiglass, you will have to have some kind of metal lining. Either you use a cookie tin or aluminum tape. If you got brass tape, even better. And then he's going to explain that you're going to need a small metal shim to actually wrap around from the actual helical and antenna into the driven element. So right here, where my mouse cursor is pointing at the bottom of the screen, you're going to notice that that's where the end connector is going to come in. I'd highly recommend using a cookie tin. If you have brass tape, use it. You cannot solder to aluminum tape. Now what this is going to do is it's going to take the impedance level of the typical wire and match it with the 50 ohm impedance of the coax. Now he does give explicit instructions on how to design this, so I'm really not going to cover into it much. Here is an image of his wire leading into the end cap, and right here you can see where he has the actual triangular piece of I think he said he used brass tape or copper tape, which is he was able to solder directly onto. Unfortunately, that's a material that's pretty hard to find. You can find it in hobby shops, but in my area I haven't been able to find any, so I had to improvise. I used a cookie tin. And here are some pictures of his final design. As you can see, he used, in the top left here, you can see that he used a couple of U-shaped bolts that are very common in most hardware stores, so you can use this to mount this to a mast outside of your house or onto a handle if you want to carry it around. Here's a back end shot of, here's the U-shaped bolts, sometimes called muffler clamps or muffler bolts. He had to do some modifications to his end connector because the bolt that he ran to hold the end cap to the reflector together was a little too big. And he has some important stuff that you really need to know, and the theory. So, since he explains it, I'm not going to go into it, but some of the things that we're going to need to know for the next part of this, the design. D lambda. Remember, this little squiggly upside down script Y character right here and right here, that's our friend lambda. That is the symbol, the Greek symbol that we use in math for wavelength. So, the diameter of the tube, or diameter of lambda, and we have the circumference of lambda, the circumference being the distance around the winding. And then the distance between any 2 points will be S lambda, or the scalar. These are very important dimensions that you need to know. You need to know the diameter of the pipe, which is D lambda. You need to know the circumference of the pipe, C lambda. And we need to know the distance between the 2 points, 2 even points, I should say, on the actual pipe, which is S lambda. Now, Jason did a very good job explaining all of the math, even documenting his mistakes, and he shows some pretty complicated charts and whatnot. He even created a program called Helix Calc. This is a helix calculation program, but I did find a minor flaw in it, that it doesn't actually accurately calculate the distance between the windings on the actual PVC pipe. I might have been a programming flaw, I don't know. But if he ever releases a fix for it, that'll be great. So he goes into some beam width patterns. If you remember from an earlier episode when I explained what an estimated radiation pattern is, the ERP, this is what the field effect would look like with a 3 decibel beam width, and here's another on another plane. Now, he also links to another pretty cool website, and it is a PHP helical antenna calculator. Now, I've already started filling in some of these values. Now, I'm going to use empirical, and I'm going to use right-hand polarization. The center frequency is 2425 gigahertz. Sorry, megahertz, 2.425 gigahertz. And we need to know lambda, and it automatically calculates this as 4.8 inches. 5 inches, good enough. Diameter of your pipe. Now, I have 1.5 inch pipe. So, closest we can get is 1.499999. You know, close enough. Now, this is where things can get kind of weird. The number of turns. If you notice that I have the number of turns, or the number of windings down the pipe, set to 15. If we look lower on the page, we're going to have an estimated gain of 17.24 decibels. And the length of the pipe is going to be 17.646 inches. Now that's not so bad. That's actually not too bad at all. That's the gray helical that I have attached to my wireless video rifle are these exact specifications. Now if we bring these up to say 18, we'll bring this up to 18 windings and watch what happens to our antenna length as well as our gain. Now the antenna length is almost at 2 feet long, and we've only gained maybe 1 decibel of gain. To tell you the truth, that added gain is not worth the added size, in my opinion. Now let's go up to 22 windings. Now we've only got 19.5 decibel gain. Meanwhile, our antenna is at almost 28 inches long. That's way too long for you to carry around. Maybe if you're going to leave it outside, okay. If you want to put this in your apartment, that's going to be a little too big. If it's something you want to carry around in a rifle form, that's going to get you shot because someone thinks you're actually holding a rifle. So, to be honest, I think 18 windings should pretty much be the highest you should go. Now, this will give us all of the information that we need to know about the actual antenna. We have 18 turns. We have S lambda, which has 1.264 inches in distance between each one. We have a ground plane of 4.87 inches. 5 inches will do. And that's everything we need to know right there. So we're just going to go to the bench side, and I'll show you some of the tips and techniques that I've used to create this antenna. Alright, some of the tools that we're going to need: various drill bits, a drill, soldering iron, pliers, a couple of nuts and bolts, a couple of screwdrivers, typical tools. You should have this stuff laying around your house. Of course, a pair of wire cutters. Now, according to the plans, I have gone ahead and cut down the PVC pipe to length, took my ruler, and using a regular Sharpie marker, I made a little dot at every 1.26 inch mark down the entire thing. And then using ordinary household tape, just Scotch tape, I taped the wires into position. Now, it's not completely even. We can work on this later. What I will do later is most likely use either epoxy, or if you can get something called heat shrink tubing, which you guys should be familiar with by now. If you can get 2-inch diameter heat shrink tubing and put heat shrink tubing over this entire thing, you'll have a really nice, sleek, sexy antenna. Now, I've gone all the way down to the end with the actual coil, as per instructions. Now, to build the reflector, I got a piece of clear plexiglass. It's about 1/8 inch thick. You can use whatever you got laying around the house, but you need something strong and firm. You don't want something very flimsy. Now, I cut this to the reflector length, 5 inches. I didn't really care for getting it straight. I made an X going across it to mark dead center, and I drilled a hole. I also drilled a hole dead center inside of a 2.5 inch end cap, which this pipe will fit into per Jason's instructions. And I've also cut the side off per Jason's instructions. And this is just going to simply bolt in. I've got a bolt, a lock nut washer. It's going to go in like so. That's going to go in like so. Then using the screwdriver, just going to loosely put this together. And what I did was I lined everything up, and I marked where I wanted to put the end connector. Here's our end connector, panel mount. We've been using these on the show, on these 2.4 gig segments a lot. And I drilled a hole, and I drilled some pilot holes for the mounting screws. Okay, let's see if I can get a nice shot of that. And you can see the holes right there. Hello. Fuckable. Nice. Okay, so got all the holes in there. Got a couple of typical everyday PC screws, which will actually go into the back. Now, you might notice all these little purple marks. Those purple marks are actually there because this is actually the bracket for the U-shape muffler clamp. And I marked a couple of locations. I've already cut 2 of them out. Right there. Put 2 nice little holes so I can feed that through. But now you're saying, Fox, you dumb shit, you are using plastic as a reflector. That's not going to work. So I'm going to go off camera, and I'm just going to use some aluminum foil tape. You can use any kind of metal material that you have around the house. If you have some kind of spray-on contact cement and aluminum foil, that will also work. If you have aluminum paint for radiators, that will also work. Metal, people, just need some metal. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go off camera. I'm going to assemble all the little bits, and we're going to go ahead and see where we can go with this. Alright, I got all of the elements lined up, used plenty of packing tape, not the best material of choice, but it does the job. If I had some 2-inch diameter heat shrink tubing, I'd definitely use that to make this completely non-movable. Here's a bit of a close-up of the solder joint on the end connector and the solder joint leading into the actual driven element. When you're lining up this metal shim inside this end cap, make sure that it's in the exact angle or close enough to the angle of the actual spiral that follows all the way down the tube. It's not the prettiest antenna that I've made, but nonetheless it should work pretty well. Let's go and test it out in NetStumbler. Alright, with the stock antenna and NetStumbler going, we've got 5 active access points. I'll go ahead and look at my own home network. Not pulling the greatest signal, so I'm going to go ahead and hook up some antenna cable. Pull off the rubber duck. Alright, let's go ahead and hook up this antenna. See how well it does. Ooh, look at that gain. Nice. And if we go ahead and pan it around a bit, we can try to locate in which general direction access points are coming from. And to tell you the truth, this really isn't a very heavy antenna, but I would try to refrain holding it like this. Putting your hand on the element would actually cause interference, of course. But nonetheless, this is a directional antenna. It should yield about 15 decibels of gain. It's relatively lightweight. Circular polarized, great if you have a lot of reflected signals around you. And if you got the materials, I'd highly suggest building one. Alright, I'll put some links up on the show notes and all that crap. So, guess that's the end.
Every once in a while you come across a piece of software that no matter what you do, you have to use a floppy disk to install it. No ifs, ands, or buts, no ways around it. For example, I use a piece of automotive software called Mitchell On Demand. And the baseline software to run the program, with their copyright protection and shit, you have to install it via floppy disk. You can't copy the files off the floppy disk and put it on a CD or a thumb drive or anything else. I've tried it. It doesn't work. So today I'm going to show you a program called Virtual Floppy Disk, VFD for short. I'll put a link where to download it on the screen and probably in the show notes if I ever get around to it. But anyway, we're going to go over to the desktop and show you what to, or laptop, and show you what to do. Open VFD up and go to the driver. It'll normally be like on this screen. Click the Install tab and then start it. Now go to the drive letter. I'm installing drive number. I go to drive 0, and you need to assign it a drive letter. Drive A or B is normal. Usually you use drive A for a 3.5 or drive B for a 5 1/4 drive. A lot of times it doesn't matter, but if your program's being an ass and it won't work, just use drive A. That 9 times out of 10 that'll fix your problem. Anyway, after that, click OK, and now click the Open button. This is you'll have to browse to your floppy disk image that you downloaded. I downloaded an image of DOS 622, whatever you need. Anyway, select your image and click Open. Here you can select the different types of floppy disk, whether it's a 5 1/4, 3.5, or whatever the hell you're using. But anyway, after that, click Open, and you can just close this. After you're done, now go over to My Computer, and you have an A drive here, which normally would show you what files you have in it, but somehow I fucked up. So let's try this again. Driver, it's installed. Let's go to drive 0. Open that image. Open. And done. Let's try that again. And now this time it's working. I don't know why it fucked up before, but shit like that happens. So, as you see, I have the disk open. Now this is great, like I said, for programs that you have to have a floppy drive to install the program. There's a lot of shit out there, mostly older stuff, but still. And no laptop that I know of that's made anymore has a floppy drive in it. The problem is this still, you're kind of fucked if you're planning on doing any BIOS upgrades or anything, because you can't boot off a virtual floppy drive. It just it's how it doesn't work. So you're still going to need to find another way around that. If your computer boots off of USB, I guess you could get one of them USB floppy drives. There's still quite a bit of computers, especially laptops out there, that still, for some reason, I don't know why, they have them so they don't boot off of USB, I guess for security reasons or whatnot. But I hope this helps you out. There should be a link up on the screen if I get around to it, to where to download the program, or check in the show notes. If you have any other questions, you can join us in the chat room. Our IRC server is irc.bsodirc.org, and the website, if you don't know by now, is bsodtv.org.
How you doing? This is Ugster here. I'm in Fox's kitchen right now, and a bunch of my friends and people on IRC have been getting smartphones, and a bunch of different ones out there now, and I thought I'd just give a basic rundown of the programs and stuff that I use that make running and using Windows Mobile a little bit less Windows. I'll start off with a program called Total Commander. It's available for both Pocket PC, smartphone, and there's a paid version for Windows 98 and XP. Smartphone and Pocket PC versions are free. You can see here it's a lot better than the built-in file manager that comes with Windows Mobile. It has the ability to open and browse zip files as well as unzip. I don't think it has the capability to... Yeah, you can zip files with it and send by infrared. If you have a portrait orientation, you can have two windows. That'd probably be easier with a widescreen. Whatever. So, basic file browser does everything I need, really. It's a lot easier to use. The layout's a lot less clunky than built-in file manager. So, Total Commander, I use that just about every day. Makes life a lot easier. Next one, this is something I really thought should have been in Windows Mobile to begin with, but it's Microsoft we're talking about here. I am not surprised. It's just kind of annoying. Copy-paste utility. There's a program called Veto Copy-Paste. It's a freeware program. All the programs I'm showing today are freeware. I only use one or two programs that are paid for that I regret purchasing. But anyway, here's Veto Copy Paste. Basically, I'm just opened up a text editor, which I'll get into in a minute. Just whatever, and then you hold down the silver center key here. You can copy it, paste. You also have selection mode. You can just use the arrow key, directional pad to select a bunch of characters, copy, and paste. I use this a lot for URLs and chunks of text that I just want to copy and put somewhere else. Again, I don't know why they didn't put it in Windows Mobile 5. I don't think it's in 6 either, but it's something that should have been there. It sets itself to start up when you start the phone, and it's really useful. WM5 storage. Again, I can't really show this one off, but it basically takes your phone and the storage card, and instead of showing up as an active sync device, it shows up as a mass storage device. Let me see if I can find it here. It speeds it up a little bit when you're transferring files. It's not a huge difference. Over active sync file browsing and moving files to and from the device is painfully slow. This makes it a little bit faster, but I'd still recommend, if you're going to use an SD card, I'm not going to take that out, that'll probably screw it up. If you're going to use an SD card, or my Moto Q uses a mini SD card. So I'd recommend getting a card reader and just plug it in through USB, or if you've got one built in, it's a heck of a lot faster than trying to transfer files through the phone. I'm not sure if it's like that with all Windows Mobile phones, but for my Moto Q it is, and from what I've seen, the Q9M and C are the same way. Just hardware limitation, whatever. WM5 Task Manager. The phone does have a built-in task manager. Let me find that. It's not very full-featured. There isn't all that much to it. Yeah, here it is. It shows all the tasks that are running, which I have a lot because I've been screwing around with the phone all day. Not a lot of options. Kill all, whatever, refresh. It sucks, basically. So another freeware program is called WM5 Task Manager. Works for all Windows Mobile 5 smartphones and, as far as I know, Pocket PC. It takes a little bit to load up. It's a little bit bloated, but it works well.
What about on Windows Mobile 6?
It should. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Because Linux has been asking a whole fuck ton of Windows. Will it run on Windows Mobile 6?
Anything that runs on Windows Mobile 5 for smartphone should work on Windows Mobile 5 Pocket PC and Windows Mobile 6. That's just generally how it works. If it doesn't, there's ways around it. Yeah, this is the program. It shows your battery life, memory, RAM, system memory, that's actual hard memory you can access on the phone, and memory on the storage card. And don't have much running, but you can go to task processes. It'll show you all the background. It should, but like I said, I have a lot of crap running, so it's just taking a dump right now. That's, yeah. Another one, if you have a long commute to school or work or whatever, program called mDictionary or mDict or mDic, whatever. It's basically a text viewer. There's a lot of charts, graphs, ebooks. There's an entire wiki database that you can download. It's about 160 megs. I'll put a link in the show notes on where to get it. It's really useful if you don't have an internet connection and you're just curious as to what the word lozenge means. Lozenge. You can just kind of look it up. Lozenge.
Lozenge.
So that's it. It's all text, but lozenge is a parallelogram, which usually has two yeah, you get the idea. There's Webster's Dictionary. I have an Elements database, which I can't say that I use all that often, but it's there. And you just search, like, just do a Google search, mDict databases or files or whatever, and it'll come up with a crapload of results. It's a useful program. Another one that I was showing earlier is WordPad. I think Ornetta makes it. Could be wrong, but it's just like the WordPad on your Windows XP desktop. Lets you put in HTML. It has everything pre-edited and stuff there. A lot of different options and inserts that you can put in. I won't go too deep into that, but it works a lot better than what's built in, which is nothing. Yeah, that's that. Here's something that I found. I haven't seen it in too much use, but it's a really, really cool program. It replaces your default home screen. You can set it to start up with Windows, so instead of showing whatever home screen you have, you don't have to screw with XML or picture files or anything. It's an awesome graphical interface. It works really well on MyQ. It shows a calendar, tasks. It'll go to the respective Windows Mobile task or program, whatever. Task appointments, it'll give you the weather, you put in your zip code and it just shows it up right there. I haven't gotten too far into this just because to me it gets in the way a little bit, but you can customize it, and I just haven't had the time or effort to really put in all the applications, but it shows, you know, it's a lot cleaner and easier to use. I'm just used to, you know, you get used to the button presses and everything. You can just do it with your eyes closed after a while. Yeah, everything's right there. It's easy to use. It has a bunch of different features. I think it has a built-in task manager as well. You can change all the basic settings, battery, ringtones and stuff, individual device volume and ringtone volume settings. It'll automatically update it. You can lock it easily, and I can't remember how to unlock it. So that's Point UI. I'll put a link to that in the show notes too. They're still actively working on it. They just recently came out with the version for smartphones. It was primarily Pocket PC before that, and you needed to have a touchscreen device, but now it works completely on directional pad. Pocket UI has a built-in weather program, but I don't want to have to start that up when I just want to find out what the temperature is going to be like Not that I trust weathermen or weather women at all anyway, but it's good to have a good ballpark figure of what it's going to be like, so you don't go outside wearing a t-shirt and it's snowing, because I've done that. So a program I used recently is called Weather Watcher. You just put in your zip code, downloads it from weather.com, I believe. Takes a little bit to start up, but it shows, 7-day forecast, detailed, shows weather maps and current conditions and satellite views and all that happy crap. And it's taking longer than it should to load. But it's pretty useful to give you a general idea of what the weather's going to be like. Like I said, I don't trust the Weather Channel or any weather program for that matter because it's screwed me over way too many times. So there you go. Now I know that it's going to rain all weekend. Awesome. Thanks God. Last program for general purpose applications is going to be JBED Java. It's a Java emulator. Another thing they really should have put in the first place, but for whatever reason didn't, for licensing issues or because Microsoft hates Java or whatever. There's a couple of them out there. There's an IBM Java environment, which I used for a while. It's not as full-featured as this one. This is called Esmertech, is the company name, I think. Yeah. This is the latest version. I can't remember where I got it, but I have the CAD files, and I'll put them up somewhere. Yeah, exit. Yeah, thanks, goodbye. Yeah, this is the basic Java emulator. You can install from your local files. It'll search your local files and stuff for jar or JAD files, or you can actually put in a URL and just have it download right from the site for Google Maps or whatever. It's really useful. I mean, you can play games and stuff on it. It doesn't have full hardware level control, so you can't use it for Bluetooth applications. From what I've seen on the Motorola Q, you're pretty much screwed because it uses the Broadcom Bluetooth profile. Yeah, chipset.
Bluetooth stack?
Yes. Yeah. Use the Broadcom Bluetooth stack, and just about all the bluejacking, blue snarfing, whatever other blue crap you can think of works only with the MS Bluetooth stack on smartphones, from what I've seen. If you can find one that works on Broadcom, please let me know, because I've done a lot of searching and I can't for the life of me find one. Multimedia. There's a lot out there. It just takes a little bit of looking for. The Motorola Q has about a 315 megahertz processor in it. Not the most powerful in the world, but you can do some cool stuff with it. One of the programs that I found is called Pocket Caster. This will actually take your internal camera and it'll broadcast it to a website. I've actually done this a couple times on IRC. It just starts up the camera and it transmits it right to the internet. It's like a live webcam from your phone. So as long as you have battery life and a decent connection, it will transmit to the ComView website, and you can make different videos public or private, and you can just go to a URL. It's like comview.com/theugsterswebcast or something like that, and it'll put it up there. So you just hit start, and it starts recording. Quality is not the best. The Motorola Q has a 1.3 megapixel camera with really crap codecs, and I haven't found a way to hack around that. There's a couple different bit rate increases, but it's not all that great. So there it is. It works. And it can be useful if you're in a pinch and you need to record something, but you don't want it on the device itself.
Geek Squad.
Alright, the next program is called Shozu, or Shazoo, whatever. It's the only program I found that'll direct upload right to Picasa, or YouTube, or Google Video, or about 30 other websites. You have to configure it once. You have to do configuration online. But once you get the basics set up, it's really simple to add sites. And like you can take a picture. The best way to show this, yeah. You just open your camera application. And you take a picture. Yeah, there's the camera. Awesome. It takes the picture, and instead of going to, save this picture, whatever, it shows you, do you want to send this picture to, send to Picasa Web, yes or no. And it'll say, you can go through whatever, send to email, send to other, and you can specify where you want to send it, and it'll send it to a special folder on Picasa, YouTube, whatever. That's the easiest way that I found to directly upload files to an online picture, video, music, whatever sharing site.
You're also telling me that the Q can't natively send pictures as MMS.
The Sprint Motorola Q cannot now. It doesn't. It's a problem on Sprint side. The Motorola Q has the capability to send MMS messages, but Sprint doesn't have the correct picture mail or MMS server set up. So you need to send it through an email address, which it just adds another step to it. If you're trying to send a picture to someone's phone number, like if it's a Verizon number, it would be their number at vzwpics.com. There's different ones for different providers. I don't know what Sprint's one is, but
that utility will make it a little bit easier.
Yes, that'll make it a little bit easier. Receiving pictures on the Sprint queue, instead of actually giving you the option to just look at the picture, you have to go to the Sprint picture mail site. It's a mess. Sprint really didn't do a good job with the implementation of their software side of things.
As the case with most OEMs and smartphones.
Indeed. The next one, Fox went over this one, I believe, in the Pocket PC Apps That Don't Suck segment. Please still, yes. TCP/MP, the Core Pocket Media Player. The built-in Windows Media Player, it plays WMV files and WMAs, and that's about it. It's okay for music, but otherwise it's useless to me. It just doesn't, whatever. This has played just about everything I've thrown in. It's good for streaming video, audio. I don't really have any files on here I can test, except music. Yeah, it's really simple to use. It'll show you the album art while it's playing. Yeah, you get the idea. It's got a lot of options. If something isn't working properly, there's probably a tweak for it that's already in the menu. It's just full featured. It gives you full control of everything. BeyondPod is an RSS reader for the Q, or Windows Mobile 5. I haven't used it extensively just because I haven't screwed around with RSS feeds all that much, but it's out there and it, for the most part, works. You just have to. The initial setting up is pretty annoying, but once you get past that, it works pretty well. And I can't remember where I put it. There it is. Okay. I have a couple feeds set up, but I haven't updated them because I haven't used this program in a while, so they're probably from 3 months ago. And again, I just haven't used RSS feeds all that much. But here it is. It looks a little weird because I have a different color setup and everything, different theme, so it will probably look a lot better on yours because it's great. Lime green on a white background just doesn't really cut it for most, but I can read it. Yeah, that's it really. It's as simple as just going to the menu and adding a new feed, and then you just put the URL in.
Did you explain the veto copy paste?
Yes.
So you can use veto copy paste.
Yep. You can just go online, copy the URL, and just punch it in right there.
That seems pretty painless.
You'd think. Like I said, Windows Mobile 5, it's clunky, and some of the tools that I've shown make it a little bit easier, but it's still it just seems half-baked to me. Moving on to communication, I'll just try and run through this really quick. OctroTalk is like Trillion for WM5.
Or for some people, Pigeon.
Yes, yes. Here, it's just connecting to the internet. You have to set up all your accounts beforehand. If you're logged on to Trillion and then try to log on with this, it will either cut you off Trillion or it won't connect properly with OctroTalk. So you just gotta either have 2 separate accounts for each or just not be signed on to both at the same time. Duh. But there it is. It uses AIM, MSN, Yahoo, and I think ICQ. It also works with Google Talk and Jabber. Yeah, there's all the accounts, everything's set up. And it has tabs, obviously, for each thing on the top. It has a different tab for whoever you're talking to. It's pretty easy to navigate, and it works. There's a couple alternatives out there. I'll try and list those in the show notes, because I've been looking to find a different one just because this like I said, I've been having trouble with Trillion and OctroTalk at the same time. For IRC, I use Smart IRC. There was one for Java called JM IRC that I used for a while, but that was just an extra step, having to go through the Java emulator and then into that, and then have to give it access and permission and everything. This is direct. It's simple. It's right there. And for some reason, I lost my configuration settings. Awesome. Yeah, whatever. You get the idea. There it is.
Have you tried Pocket IRC?
I have not.
Okay.
Is that for Pocket PC?
Yeah, runs on Windows Mobile 5. I think I covered that one in Pocket PC apps that don't suck.
Okay.
Which I think now Pocket IRC sucks.
Smart IRC has been good to me. It works really well. It's simple. There aren't a whole lot of options, but it works. Skype, you have to have a really good internet connection and unlimited data, preferably. For most of the programs I'm showing you, it would be best that you have an unlimited data connection, or at least really watch what you're doing. It's easy to go over and end up having a $1,000 phone bill just because you decided to stay on Skype and talk to your girlfriend or boyfriend all day.
You haven't talked to me that long.
Please load Skype. Yeah, so it's Skype, just like on your desktop. It's a little laggy because, like I said, it's only got my Q only has a 315 megahertz processor. No, Mustang's on. I should give him a call anyway.
You're running out of time, bitch. Hurry
I
up.
know, yeah. So you can call people. For my Q, you either have to have a headset or it pumps it right through your speakers, which is kind of annoying. You can't just talk on the phone just like normal.
Can you pipe the video through from the webcam?
It doesn't work with video, no.
I haven't gotten the same thing with my PDA or the N800.
The N800, yeah.
So just because if you get a device that says it has a built-in webcam, don't assume that Skype is going to use it properly.
Right. So there's Skype. I mean, I've used it a bunch of times. Even with a not so great connection, it works well.
Yeah, I can attest for that. It does work pretty good,
Yeah.
even on a crappy connection.
Yeah. Moving on to web browsers. There's so many out there. It's kind of hard to tell which ones are good and which ones are crap. I've used 4 primarily. I'm only going to go through 2. Minimo is Mozilla's mobile version of Firefox, as far as I can tell. It seems half-baked to me. I'm not even going to open it because it's a huge resource hog, and unless you have a touch screen, it's pretty difficult to navigate and use. For some reason, the left and right directional pads go down to different menus, and you press the space bar, it opens a new... I don't know. It's annoying. JB5 is another one that not too many people have heard of. It has the only unique ability of any of the browsers that I've used. It'll load the text and the body of a web page before it loads the pictures, which is really useful because then you can actually start searching through the site before the rest of it loads. It'll tell you the usage in the top corner, and you can access it. It's also good for if you have a download link in Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorer doesn't recognize it because it will only recognize .exe, .cab, and .zip right out of the box. You can edit those later, but it'll just say, file type not recognized, and just won't do anything. So you can grab the URL from that using veto copy paste, put it in here, and download it.
Can you access router HTTP admin pages using? I know you can do it with Minimo, but can you do it with that one?
You should be able to, yes, because it doesn't use a server client configuration.
Pocket IE will not work with any HTTP pages that are used for configuration at all. Period.
Yeah,
I know
sure that
Minimo
works.
will.
I haven't tried it all too much, but as far as I know, it works.
Yeah,
Next one that I use just about every day, just for research or just browsing, whatever, Opera Mini. Opera has 2 different versions for Windows Mobile. Opera Mobile?
I don't know.
Is that the one that you used?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
It's called Opera. Yeah, Opera Mobile 8.65. I think is the newest one. I think that's $25, and then there's Opera Mini, which is a Java application. It's free. Very low system resources, surprisingly. Not too much to it, but it works really well. It's streamlined. They put a lot of effort into it. I've actually been using it since the beta of Opera Mini 3. It works really well. It's easy to navigate. You can figure stuff out quickly. Yeah, it works really well. It loads pages quickly. Like I said, it's not a huge resource hog. It initially, when you first open it, asks you if you want the Java emulator to allow access to the internet connection. You have to say yes, and then yes again for that entire session. That's just the way the Java emulator works. It's not from Opera Mini, that's just how it is. It'll do that with any program that tries to access the internet or any of the other functions on your hardware, if it has access to them at all. The last program I'm going to show tonight is Skyfire. I was really excited about this for a while. I signed up for the private beta and waited about 3 or 4 months for it. It touts to have the ability to view online Flash animations, Ajax, and JavaScript, which no other browser can really do well or at all without a lot of hacks and workarounds that you shouldn't have to do in the first place. But it's not out. It's not publicly available for download yet. It uses server client configuration, which means that when you go to Google.com, you're not directly accessing Google.com. You're sending the request to a server on Skyfire's side. They format it to your browser. They compress things, whatever, and then they send it back to your phone. That's my understanding of it. That's just how it works. Opera Mini does the same thing. That's how they get the speed and the optimization down. There's some privacy concerns over that. I'm still not sure. Just don't do banking over Skyfire or Opera Mini or whatever. I'm not going to go to regular whatever. I'll just show you YouTube real quick, just to prove that it works. Like I said, I waited for a long time for this to come out. I was really excited about it. It's a little bit disappointing because the video isn't awesome quality. It's a little bit choppy. And all of the ads, if there's flash animations or you know, the little punch the monkey in the face and get $1 million, those will all display in the same way that they will on Internet Explorer on your computer. So that can actually slow things down to a crawl. I'm hoping that they'll add in some kind of ad block capability, but at this point I really don't know. They just open up the forums and I don't know. But it's something to look forward to. It works really well for the most part. What the heck? What the... YouTube is really screwed up. I click the first link I find and it's a couple in bed with a green screen and so yeah, that's Skyfire. I can't really get too far into that. If anyone wants to see anything else about that, I can send them a video of it. I can't really send the Skyfire exe out because it's, you know, each one, since I'm in the beta, it's individually whatever. But I can show you more about it because it's a really cool program. I hope this was helpful to you guys, and I hope it shed some light on the smartphone, because I know a lot of people have been hesitant, or they just haven't got a smartphone because it doesn't do what they want to right out of the box. But with some tweaks and hacks and some different programs that you wouldn't really normally find, it can be a really useful tool, and more than just a phone and just internet browser. So I hope this was helpful, and hopefully I'll be doing a couple future segments on GPS apps, QR codes. Fox and I are going to do a segment on QR codes and the different technology and use behind that. So.
And everyone on IRC wanted me to give you this.
Oh God!
Now clean it the fuck up and get out of my kitchen. I'm gonna get my ass kicked.